And now it's time to introduce to you the men who brought you apportionments and bring them to your church every single year. Yes, they're the ones responsible for increasing your apportionments. Ensz and Clayton Payne. This is Beyond Sunday Morning. Tonight's special guest is Vincent Gorgone. Hey everybody, welcome to our new Phase 2 podcast. Very excited. We're going to rename ourselves Beyond Sunday Morning and just have a conversation about some church stuff, some pastoral identity stuff outside of the church, outside of the church walls, and having conversations about, just some deeper conversations than what we can on Sunday morning. I'm joined, we used to be B-Pud and Blondie, but we've decided to go with our real names now. I'm your host. My name is Drew, and I serve in the Eastern Shore area of Virginia. And my co-host, who is apparently locked in some kind of closet.
In my parents' basement.
In your parents' basement, where most podcasts happen, actually.
Absolutely.
That's Clayton Payne, and he serves in the Stanton district.
Very good. Clayton
is a senior pastor at one of the larger churches in the Stanton area. And I'm a measly associate pastor. So, he likes to give me a hard time all the time. Well, Clayton, today we wanted to talk a little bit about youth ministry.
Absolutely.
And we have a special guest with us today. One of my former youth when I worked as a youth director in Northern Virginia. This is Vincent Gorgone.
What's up, guys?
Vincent is a senior in high school and been actively involved in the church basically from middle school all the way through high school. And Vincent, one of the things that I've found with when we want to talk about youth ministry and things like that, very few people actually go and talk to young people. They don't want to talk to youth. They read books, they do all that kind of stuff instead of asking somebody who's younger exactly what they think and what their feelings are. And since, to be fair, Vincent, I want to point this out as well, that you, Clayton, and we're all in the same generation. Did you know that? We're all millennials.
Are we really?
Absolutely.
We are, and I'm kind of offended that you said it like that.
Well, you're kind of old. I'm kind of not old. Like, it happens.
I am the oldest here, and
you are.
That actually is bothersome.
And not the most mature, but certainly the oldest.
Well, we always knew Drew wasn't mentally mature, but
Speaking of not being mentally mature, one of the first things we wanted to talk about was just some funny stories about youth group. Vincent, you were actually in my youth group, so I know that you have plenty of stories about me. I am sending your paycheck in the mail.
Okay.
I'm waiting until after this podcast is finished
to see how much it's going to be for.
You deserve.
Oh,
so
great.
If you really want to embarrass me a lot, you get nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, on that note, I'd like to get paid some decent money.
Just to let you know, there's no money involved.
Oh, well, see, now I feel cheated and lied to. And lied to.
Yeah, basically. That's our goal here on Beyond Sunday Morning. Every guest feels cheated and lied to.
Well, mission accomplished thus far.
So go ahead. So actually, I'll tell a story first, or Clayton, you can follow me, and then Vincent, you can go last. When I was in youth, probably the most disastrous youth ministry event that we ever had was one of our lock-ins. And, it was, we were loud, we were obnoxious, we were middle school students, and, our adult chaperones decided that the best way to handle our loudness after lights out was to send all the teenagers into a room without any chaperones. It was the worst decision ever. Now, luckily, we were all good Christian children and nothing happened, but come on. It's the most ridiculous story I can ever think of.
That's fantastic.
So do not do that. Clayton, do you have a good one?
Well, are you looking for one that happened to me while I was in youth group or while I was leading?
No. We'll do that one first.
Okay, so I got to tell you, for many of you, you knew that I grew up Southern Baptist, and I remember in my...
Hallelujah.
Amen. In my youth group, we were all going to go to Wet n Wild, which was a water theme park in Las Vegas, which is where I'm from. And
were you required to wear full bodysuits?
Stop it! Stop.
Oh.
And we were about to go. We were raising money, and some of the girls locked themselves into our youth room, and one of the boys kicked in the door. And we ended up as a youth group. Our youth leader brought us in and had to tell us that we would not be going on the trip, but instead we were going to be paying for a new door. And I just remember, not being involved in the incident, but being very aware that it happened. And when the announcement was made, just crying.
You cried.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
old were
yeah. It
you?
was serious. I was probably maybe a freshman, and it was just a
You were
bad
15
week.
years
Wait, you cried as a freshman? I think there's the story that you were crying as a freshman.
Yes.
It was
Absolutely.
gentle tears, soft tears.
Vincent, you're my
Soft
favorite
cheer.
guest thus far.
Hey, I'm your only guest thus far.
You didn't have to say that.
Oh, well, I believe in transparency and not lying and cheating my guests.
And, it is what we are. So give us a funny story.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is about you, Drew. I think I'm like
Stop
90% sure it was seventh grade, and I think it was D now or something, and we're driving down the road, and your car is in front of my car, and the adult is just making fun, and we're all poking fun, and he looks at us and he's like, "You guys should go spit on Drew's car," and so we stop at the red light, and we Chinese fire drill your car. And then we all spit all over your car and jump back in the car and we drive away. And then the next stop sign, you got out of your car and walked to the front, like to the front of our car and hawked the biggest loogie on the windshield right in front of the driver. And he's sitting there running the windshield wipers trying to clean it off. And
That's a
we're all
mistake.
just geeking.
Yep, that's a mistake. You can't do that because it just smears it all over the place.
Well, that was his fault, not mine. I wasn't
Exactly.
driving.
No, that's funny. So, Clayton, between the two of us, we have probably about 14 years of youth ministry experience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat to be able to sit back now. Both of us work in different areas of the church, still have connections to youth and youth group. But, so one of the things I'd like to hear from you is just a funny story, a mistake you made in youth ministry or,
Oh my
I
goodness.
got a doozy.
I have some of the like really embarrassing ones that you do, and then you realize how ridiculously you look later. I'll never forget. I was with a group of youth, and we had just gone to the park, and you try to be cool when you're a youth leader, and I remember I still try to be cool, but I remember I was at the park and one of my youth walked over to me and said, "Clayton, do we need to buy you new pants?" And I was like, "Why?" And she said to me, she goes, "Because you should never fix the hem of your pants with staples." Like earlier that day, my pant leg had tore, so I'd stapled it.
Nice.
And I just thought I was making it through the day, and I got busted on for that for like a year.
Oh my
I got
God.
told I wasn't allowed to staple my pants anymore.
Well, here's the important thing, and the mistake in that story was that you didn't allow them to buy you new pants. Because I would have been like,
Yes, I need
you do.
Take advantage of our youth buying new pants.
Absolutely. I think you spread it out. $3 per person. I can get some nice pair of pants. that
Yeah, you
don't
can get some
require
designer
staples
jeans.
only.
Absolutely.
Hey, well, mine is good. So we were on a mission trip, and the boys decided they wanted to go around and lick people's elbows. This is later on in my ministry. So, I had gone through the cool phase. Everybody still likes to be cool. We'll come back to that in a minute. So they come around, they lick my elbow, and I look at them in just a straight face, and I go, we need to go to the hospital. And they go, why? And I said, well, I have an open wound, and I have a blood disorder. I'm scared that you might have caught it. We need to go to the hospital and get you tested. So we go to the car, get him in the car, and I'm playing it up. I got another adult to say, hey, we need to take 2 adults. You can't just leave you by yourself. We start the car. I call my wife and I say, hey, and I use the mom's name, and I go, hey, we need to go to the hospital. The student licked my elbow. and we need to go. We can get him tested. Of course, my wife is on the other line going, "Stop it! This is a bad idea. Stop it! Stop it!" And I'm keep playing around, and finally I say, hey, we're just kidding. 'Cause, I mean, the whole time he's like, "Oh, you're just messing around." And this is a good, I would never do this to the quietest student ever. I'd probably do this kind of thing to Vincent, and probably have in the past.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could think of something.
Oh, absolutely. But so this good relationship, we always joke on each other. The problem was, and he started crying at the end, and that's when I was like, "Oh, there's some piece of the puzzle that I'm missing here." It turns out that he's deathly afraid of hospitals.
That was a win for you, Drew. I really think
this is before my time.
This
was a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember this.
This might be a great podcast entitled "Things You Should Not Do as a Youth Leader."
Well, and I think we all make those mistakes, especially when you start off in ministry, when you start off in youth ministry. We constantly, I think one of the first things that people do is they feel like they have to be cool as the students.
Yeah.
Vincent, you remember when I was trying to act real cool?
When did you stop?
Ooh. Hey, I'm supposed to be the funny one on here? Not, wow. Well, that's depressing. So anyway.
It's okay, Drew.
No, I think we do, in a lot of ways, we do want to be the cool one, but there comes a time when you kind of realize, I'm not the cool one. I'm not going to be as cool as a 17, 18-year-old.
Right.
I think a lot of youth directors say they were nerds in high school and not that popular. And so it's cool now that people are like, oh, teenagers think I'm cool. And so you kind of fall into that trap of, oh, I'm the coolest guy in the block until, you make a kid cry because he's deathly afraid of hospitals. Or you staple your pants together and you get called out. Those kinds of things.
I thought I had done a great job, too, when I had done it, because I thought no one would have seen, but...
Sure.
What, did you staple it on the inside, or was this just out front in the knee area or something?
No, it was on the hem of my pants, but it was noticeable, I guess. I didn't do
apparently.
as I thought I did.
Apparently it was noticeable. So, Vincent, what are some things that you think that youth ministers should kind of know about young people? I'll kind of start off with a couple of things, and Clayton, I know you've thought about them too. I think one of them is, and to get back to this cool thing, is students can do cool without you. In fact, we always talk all the time about social events. Let's go bowling, or let's go to the mall. Blah 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 blah. If that's the only thing that you offer, students can do a lot better job of having fun without you. There needs to be something more that you're offering than just an opportunity to hang out. Because if you remember when you were in high school, it's middle school, high school, you could hang out with your friends without adult supervision just fine. And if that's all you want to be is adult supervision because you're the cool one, it isn't going to work. There has to be a level of caring and discipleship that goes along with it. So that would be my first thing. Do you guys have any other?
For me, one thing that I love about the youth ministry and still being a part of it is that when we do want to hang out with the adults, they are very willing to do so. We have a group message in our youth group, and it's got some of the youth, and then every once in a while we'll ask some of the adults. We'll ask our current ex-youth pastor friend Sean, and then we'll ask No, he got promoted.
He gets fired. No, he's now the associate pastor.
Yes.
Yes.
But we'll ask him and then other adults from our church if they want to come have dinner with us or have lunch with us, and we invite them to our birthday dinners. We have at least our youth has a very close relationship with the adults, and so what I would say to the youth ministers out there and to the adult helpers out there, don't be afraid to hang out with your youth. They want to, or at least some of them want to hang out with you, and they want to get to know you guys as people, as more than just teachers, because some of you guys are cool.
Well, and that's nice that you're giving us this false hope of coolness. But to go to your point, and I've heard this a lot, is there has to be something more. And once there's that something more, then they do want to hang out with you because they care about you, because they know you care about them. Youth ministry, like any ministry, is mainly relationship driven. And I know, for example, there were some times that I can remember, Vincent, you weren't always able to come to youth group every week. And it didn't bother me. And I think that that's really important, that, again, you kind of realize that these relationships are more important than attendance at a youth function. And so that you grow into those kinds of people that want to be engaged with the adults in your ministry area, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that I really regret, actually, as I look over my time in youth ministry, especially from a professional point of view, is the idea of being present. I thought programming was really important, and I look back on it now, and I really wish I would have been more present with those that were, in my youth group. Because I think about all the football games I was invited to and everything else, and about how to almost all of them I said no. And I look back on that and think, I really wish I would have been there with the youth, because they were asking for me to be there. And, I kind of feel like I let them down in that. Because at that time, it wasn't a real big push. The trending in youth ministry wasn't to be actively engaged with people. It was to program for them. It was to have lock-ins, and it was to have other things. It wasn't to be at basketball games and baseball games and in people's homes. That was just kind of unheard of.
I mean, that's one thing that we actually do a lot. Like, we invite, I remember even when Drew was, our youth pastor. Even Drew, when we invited him, came to some, like, we would invite him to our events. We invite Sean to our events, like, because that, just like I was saying earlier, we like having that close relationship with our youth ministers and with our adult helpers. It makes the whole system run better. And, like, who said people from different age groups can't be friends? Like, I'm friends with Drew. I'm friends with Sean. I'm friends with some of the adults in our youth ministry. It's really cool to see stuff like that.
Vincent, I'm not certain if anyone can be friends with Drew.
Well, we try and be friends with Drew.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a ministry. It's a blessing in my life. And, Vincent, you can turn around and ultimately, hopefully that continues where, as you get ready to go to college and things like that you can in turn be friends with, the 12, 13, 14-year-olds who are coming up. So I wanted real quick to say one more thing. I think one of the things that a lot of churches make mistakes in when they talk about youth and having youth in their church, and this is something that always gets under my skin, and I want to get your all's thoughts on this. And certainly, I would say that that people don't do it on purpose, that the places where I've been, there's not a push for that. It's just in listening to other people, things like that, you kind of pick up on this sentiment. Sometimes churches feel like that youth are only there to serve the church, the rest of the church.
Oh, man.
And so they're there to clean up, and they're there to do the jobs that no one else wants to do. Maybe, if an adult kicked in the door, well, we'll have the youth do it. The youth will be the ones to put it up. And I think one of the big mistakes with that, and let me say, to be fair, that's the way a lot of older persons in the church world grew up, was the youth were there to serve the rest of the church. I think the big mistake in that is, if you think about it, you're basically telling your 12 to 18-year-olds that they're second-class citizens in the church, that they do the jobs that no one else wants to do. And then when they turn 18 and they have a choice on whether or not to remain in church, for some reason, they don't have anything to do with it. And certainly there's a lot more to it than that, but I think sometimes that attitude of, well, they're just there to clean up, they're there to serve us, they're there to... And that just is counterproductive to building the kingdom of God. What are your all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things, too, we've done a really poor job about, and I think you're naming one part of it, is we've separated and compartmentalized ministry. And in doing so, we've made it so that instead of the burden being on the whole people of God, it falls on certain people. Like, if you're going to hold a spaghetti potluck at church, well, you're going to get the youth to clean up and wait the tables. And it just becomes this thing of certain times they're not going to be there. And then the opposite is said, too. When you're looking for key leadership roles in a church, a lot of times you don't look to your youth because the youth are there to wait on the tables, and they're there for the church cleanup days, and they're there for this handful of things. And as a youth leader, I have to say I might have perpetuated this because there were a lot of times that I told our youth when I was, in youth ministry that they needed to be doing some kind of service for the church. But that's true of everyone.
Right, and I don't think that that's something that we should not expect people to do, but I think the flip side needs to be that sometimes one of the great things about Vincent's church was that the men of the church actually came to our spring retreat and cooked breakfast for all the youth of the church, and we're talking 50 to 75 people plus.
Oh yeah.
And I think again that showed them that you're important to us, that we are going to serve you as well. And again, they were expected to go and serve other people and to go and do things, but everything wasn't just about them serving everyone else. And Vincent, you're actually in some key leadership roles at your church.
Yes, I am. I serve on the admin council. I'm the youth representative currently on the admin council at our church, the administrative board, and I'm also the admin representative on the youth advisory council. So, the leadership roles are there, and I encourage people to, offer those to their youth. I never would have had the opportunity to join admin council had Drew not given me the opportunity before he left for his new church. And, not to toot my own horn, but I think it's something that was kind of needed. I feel like we need younger people in the church because the young people are going to be there hopefully after everyone else is gone. The next generation always has to be teaching and preparing the next generation. And so I feel like by having those younger people in leadership roles, you're not only setting them up to learn more about the church and get them more involved in the church, but you're setting them up to then teach the next generation. And what I love about the Methodist Church in general is that once you go through when you're in middle school and whatnot, once you go through confirmation, you're now a full member of the church. You can do all of these things. You have a say. And I think that's just really cool about the Methodist denomination in general.
Thanks. Well, you complimented me and summed everything up. That's perfect.
I was gonna ask how much he was being paid for that.
Yeah. So I appreciated it,
Anytime.
Wait, is there anything else you guys want to add?
Skiing with youth is a bad idea.
Oh man, they all the time they wanted me to go do a ski trip. I said no.
Don't do it. No, I did it.
Wait, that's coming. That just came up actually in our youth advisory council talks, and I voted that. We voted for that. Should that not be a thing?
Yes.
Is there something I should be worried about now?
Every time I've gone, somebody's broken a bone or worse.
Absolutely. So you will end up in the hospital at least once.
All right. So we have a meeting in a month. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that in a month. Enjoy.
Let me just tell you. Here's how you avoid that. The day you get ready to leave for the ski trip, just kick in a door. That's what I've learned from this podcast.
Yeah, right, that's fantastic.
Everyone, I want to thank Vincent for being here. Vincent, do you want to give out your Twitter handle?
It's at Vincent Gorgone. Guys, hit me up on the tweets. Let's go.
All right. And Clayton, you don't believe in Twitter.
Clayton, I'm disappointed in you.
I do.
Clayton, we're just getting along.
Do you want my... Well, my handle is actually at Clayton Payne.
At Clayton Payne. That's right.
I'm not nearly as cool. I'm not nearly as cool as everyone else.
And you can find me at Drew Ensz. We really appreciated you being here. And Vincent, thank you again for being our first guest on Phase 2 of our podcast. Check us out. Leave a comment. Subscribe to our channel. And we're going to try and do these shows once a week. Thank you all so much. And we'll talk to you later.